Well, hello again. I thought today I'd just give you a quick demonstration on how to strip down an Abu 504 reel, just for a little bit of maintenance and general sort of check of its sort of internal condition, spread a bit of grease about inside. As you can see here, it's quite a clean reel, quite new I think from when I had it, but anyway, first thing we need to do on this one, we take off the front cover here, turns around and then pops off like that, and then we have this area which is, I suppose, the area that takes up the line through the pin here. So what we do is on this one, on the you see the on and off there, so we hold the crank handle here and turn it in the direction of the off until it unscrews. And there reveals the spool with the line on it. So just see that just pops off the shaft like that, and put it to one side there. So what we do, look at this first. Unfortunately, this one's probably seen sort of better days, the spool at least. This area around here, which is like a fibrous felt material, the idea was to stop the line going behind the mechanism. It did work to a certain extent, but anyway, enough of that. On this one, just there's a greasing on this area, maybe just a tad on the inside of that, but to make sure you get none obviously on the line or anything like that. But that's all that really needs to do, and obviously check the condition of this fibrous material here, but unsure whether you can replace it or not. But other than that, there's not much else to do with that. So place that to one side over there. This piece of equipment here, this one actually has one pin, but what we need to do here is just check the operation in here with a little bit of grease. What you do is just a little bit of grease on here, again not too much, and I'm not going to go too far taking it apart because it's not necessary, but that is your mechanism in there that pops the pin in and out. If you push that in, you can see the pin, and then when it spins it will pop it out again on the, I can't operate it now, but there is a method where when you spin it, it will pop it out again on a cam on the inside of the reel. But again, a little bit of grease on this, but again, very minute amount of grease on there. But again, just check the operation, which we've done so. On this here, we need nothing on that, basically just a clean and a tidy. Make sure that's okay, make sure there's nothing nasty on that. And one thing I will say on this here, obviously this is where the line runs up through, I don't know if you can see the witness marks here by the pin, but again just make sure there's no sharp edges or anything on there, otherwise that can snag your line. So it's just a general check, but again you don't want any grease on here, maybe a light bit of oil in this mechanism, but again not a massive amount. But other than that, there's not a lot you can do with this. Again, just a little bit of oil maybe on the inside, I mean you can see that, but just a tad around that mechanism there. Other than that, not a lot else. Again, a little bit of light oil there, but that's, apart from that, that's it. So now we go to the reel itself. I'm looking at the front here. Again, maybe check the operation of the action in there going in and out, which operates the spool to lay the line on the spool perfectly, so you don't get a build up. So just check that operation is oscillates in and out. Again, a little bit of grease maybe on there, but again not a massive amount. I know you can see the actual internal things is spinning as well, so you check that. But other than that, there's very little grease needed in there, and you don't want anything that will splash out and go onto the line. Right, so if we now go to this side of it, and again it's worth having a white cloth or something in case you drop anything. So I'm just going to unscrew the only retaining screw on the side plate here. Just crack it there. And this one you only need one normal flat bladed screwdriver. You can take it apart. So just undo that, remove the side plate, and again, put that to one side safe. In there, there's very little that you can do with that. So this has been quite greased up. So all I'm going to do on this one is just move the grease around a bit onto various places where it's moved from. But this one doesn't need any greasing because it's been done before. So I tend to, a situation like this, just move it around where it's washed off of the areas. Just make sure there's, and again checking for grit, anything like that. But just try and work it in, but only really light grease, and don't overdo it. But other than that, there's nothing else in there really to do. When you crank the handle, you can see the mechanism going backwards and forwards there. So again, I just operate it a tad, and then perhaps re-spread the grease around in the sort of gears and that. But again, you don't want to just chuck it everywhere because it'll only wipe off and end up all around the inside of the reel. So again, you don't want a massive amount. Again, just check the operation there. That's all you can do inside there. So basically we'll just stick the side plate back on again. It locates with some little pins there, probably be easier if we take the screw out actually. But it'll locate with two little lugs into the side plate there. So easy in practice. I'm trying to do it one-handed, but it locates in there, and then it's located. Screw that down, which is quite good. They put a knurl on the screw there, so you can screw most of it in by hand. I'm wiping off my screwdriver there, and then just cracking the screw up. But again, don't over tighten it because it's only a cast body, and obviously you don't want to strip the threads. Let me just check the action there. That's all that can be done onto that side. Now on here, they did attempt somewhat to have some sort of drag on this Abu reel, which never really took off. But again, what you do is you unscrew that completely. And very carefully remove it, because there are washers and some sort of ball bearing arrangement, which is all part of the drag. But you just screw that. And it's a spring and that, so be careful with the spring. You can see the spring on the end there. And then this assembly, the crank handle and the cover comes off. And basically on here, this is the form of the drag mechanism. You can see that very well on here. And basically you've got two washers. Let's try and bring it closer to the camera. You have two washers, top and bottom. Inside is a ball bearing arrangement, ball race arrangement. And the idea being, when you tighten the screw that I've just taken off, it clamps that ball bearing and will lock it tight. And as you relieve the pressure, so it allows the ball bearing more movement on the housing under there. I don't know whether I can actually safely remove it. There's not much to see under there, but it allows the ball bearing to push onto there. You can see that. That's just basically a ball bearing in the housing. So again, a tiny bit of grease in this area here. Again, that's all it is, like a ball bearing, little ball race, and two washers, and that is basically all that gives you the drag mechanism. So a little bit of grease on that. Again, nothing too heavy, and also a little bit of grease around here, or a little bit of light machine oil perhaps run down the shaft. But that's all that is on there. Again, nothing to do on this part here. Grease will make its way to it wherever you go, and then that just locates through a flat. You can see there's a, put it in the view of the camera, that's a flat on there, a square I should say, not a flat, and that basically all just locates, and all without falling apart, that all locates in the housing. Again, it may look so easy in practice. That locates on the housing like that. Yep, you can see that very well. I just lost the shot a bit there. And again, make sure you don't lose the spring. And just screw it all back together. And then that puts some tension on it. At the minute being no tension, you will be able to play a fish off the drag. The more you tighten it up, and eventually it locks it solid. So there's absolutely no drag on it whatsoever. And that's it. And obviously there's anti-reverse, but there's no you cannot remove the anti-reverse on this. That's locked solid, unfortunately. And that's basically it on this. There's nothing else to tell with this one. It's a very good example, but I think quite an old example, but in very good condition. I have got the box, the original box with it. I don't use it anymore. I find that it is prone to getting line behind the spool, which ends up in all this mechanism around here, and then it's just an absolute nightmare. So what we do now, go back to assembling the reel. Just wipe my hands off here. Now, just one point of interest on this area here. This tiny spring in here, you can see that if I put me screwdriver in, that sometimes breaks, loses its tension. And what I have found, that you can actually use a spring out of a retractable biro. It's not the ideal replacement, but it will get you by until you can source a replacement. This one has only got the one pin, some have two, and I believe some have more, but certainly this only got the one pin. So you have to crank the half a turn before you actually start retrieving line, whereas if you had two, it'd only be a quarter of a turn. But again, very well engineered bit of kit as it goes. So just to basically assemble it, you just obviously there's line on this which is probably years old. That pushes on, and you can see in there are two metal pins. So there's one thing you must not lose this reel. Just it's not a standard reel, if you like. So two metal pins, and they locate in the grooves and slots in this brass plate here. So what you do is you just basically push that on until it locates, and that's it. I just wind the line in, and then what you then do is you then screw this cover on, obviously in the direction of where it says on, until it comes to something. Then I just by holding the crank handle, you can now just give it that extra, but again, don't over tighten it because you could possibly strip the threads. And there you go. And then what I do now is you just put this cover back on, making sure if you want that the line is through the front. That's what I was doing, make sure the line's through, and I just hold it the elastic band, turn that until it's locked, and there you have it. Just a quick check of the reel, all operates. By its very nature, this one has always been quite stiff. I don't know whether it's just a problem with the reel or it's just its design, but it's always been quite stiff. But again, it's quite old, and when you've done that, what I always favour to do is with a clean bit of rag or clean area rag, just make sure that any grease that I've moved around, because you know what it is, you'll be putting your hands in pockets and that, and you'll be putting grease around. So again, just a quick wipe down, make sure there's no grease anywhere. And just again, visual check, make sure everything's alright, and there you go. That's a quick test and service, if you like, of an Abu 506M reel. I wouldn't be so eager to take modern reels apart with rear drag because of springs and washers for the clutch mechanism on it. So that one's a very simple reel to take apart and do a little bit of maintenance yourself. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and it's been some help to you. For anybody out there that's got an old Abu 50 or the 500 series, I think they're pretty much all similar sort of setup, but certainly don't attempt it unless you're a bit, you're confident of being able to do it, because sometimes you can take them apart and springs fly everywhere. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll bring another one later on. Thank you very much.